Welcome back to WWE 2K26.
Okay, so far, so good, right? 2 matches, 2 big wins. But let's use this slingshot technology to get another chance at a win that slipped right through my fingers. WrestleMania 27, facing Randy Orton. I'd done what few people dare to do and provoked the Viper myself. This was revenge, of course, for Randy Orton attacking me at Unforgiven, punctuating the whole thing with his trademark punk kick, which caused an injury which forced me to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship.
Now, that right there was impressive!
Credit to Randy. He showed exactly why he is one of WWE's most dangerous competitors, as I made one single mistake, resulting in him getting the RKO and getting the victory. This time, with your help, we're gonna get that win. Let's rewrite history together.
Alright, back here in WWE 2K26 with the next match. Randy Orton and CM Punk at WrestleMania 27, I believe is what they were saying. Usually regarded as one of the worst WrestleManias. Mostly the main event kind of fell flat, and you could definitely tell the main event for this one was The Miz versus John Cena, and it was primarily used to get The Rock involved to set up the once-in-a-lifetime, he said in heavy quotation marks, match between Cena and The Rock. That ended up being sort of 3 matches. The first match was a tag team match at Survivor Series in which Cena and Rock teamed up against, I believe it was Awesome Truth, which is R-Truth and The Miz. Fast forward, WrestleMania, they had their match at 28, and then prior to WrestleMania 29, John Cena wins the Rumble and faces The Rock at WrestleMania. So once in a lifetime was really twice in a lifetime, but then you had that 3 times in a lifetime because they teamed together that one time, albeit in a losing effort. But that's not entirely the point of this. Randy Orton, for those who don't know, even though this is a CM Punk showcase, is probably one of, if not John Cena's biggest rival. He was a big rival with CM Punk at this point in time, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be showcased here. But when Randy Orton first started out in WWE, he was quickly thrown into Evolution, a 4-man stable consisting of himself being the young hotshot rookie, Dave Bautista, who was simply known as Bautista, as the muscle rookie type role, Ric Flair, the veteran mentor figure, and Triple H, the leader / world champion. Solely existed to keep the belt on Triple H. Eventually, the team would amass all the gold. Orton would win the Intercontinental Championship, while Batista and Flair would win the tag titles. During this time in Evolution, he would eventually start this whole legend killer type gimmick where he would take on all these older guys in the company and get good high profile wins against them, or he would take them out of action for a little bit of time, eventually setting up a match between the two of them where he would somehow win, and he would be dubbed the legend killer throughout the mid-2000s, including like a good feud with Shawn Michaels as well as The Undertaker, with the Undertaker feud did culminate in a match at WrestleMania, which is interesting because if you know anything about The Undertaker and WrestleMania, it's his streak. But I'm going to get onto that in a little bit, because I don't want to necessarily dwell too far off of that. But Orton took on Undertaker for the sake of trying to end the undefeated streak at WrestleMania. It did not go over well for him. And then he would end up feuding with Shawn Michaels at a handful of times. Well, at the tender young age of 24, Randy Orton would eventually win the World Heavyweight Championship, becoming the youngest world champion in the company to do so. A record he still holds. Yes, because the WWE Championship, I believe someone younger has held it, but he was the youngest World Heavyweight Champion. After about 2009, this is kind of when people started to take notice, but 2009 Randy Orton, that phrase alone will send shudders down some wrestling fans' spine, because at that point, the Legend Killer thing had started to fade, because he's been in the company 7 years, and, well, he had debuted for the company after 7 years. And at some point, it's like, hey, you can't really call yourself the Legend Killer if, one, there's no legend, and two, you become a legend. So he ends up changing his whole thing to like the WWE's Apex Predator. Basically, I'm gonna take you out, and I'm gonna make sure you don't come back. He's been doing that since 2009, but the 2009 version when it first started was a mess. He would take out everybody and everything with his finishing move, the RKO, out of nowhere, usually. And if that didn't work, he had what was known as the punt kick, where you would be lying in the ring, he'd be in the corner, stalking away, and eventually he would charge you and kick you in the neck, in the head, effectively taking you out of action for a certain amount of time. One of his big feuds during this moment was against Triple H, culminating in a match, I believe, at WrestleMania 25, in which they were feuding for the WWE Championship. Orton, I believe, was champion at the time. And in an effort to get in Triple H's head, he straight up took out every member of the McMahon family. Now, why would Randy Orton be taking out the McMahon family to get under Triple H's skin? Well, the McMahon family is basically his in-laws. That's the sole reason. And then, of course, you have his big feud with John Cena. They feuded multiple times throughout the years. Eventually, one of the best matches in a lot of people's eyes is you had their match at, I believe it was Breaking Point, 2009, where, again, feuding for the WWE Championship, the two went at it in an I Quit match. And they beat the snot out of each other. That's all they did, was they threw everything they had in the kitchen sink at one another. And yeah, Cena, I believe, ended up winning the match because he doesn't give up. And so, ended up winning the WWE Championship from that match. Other notable feuds Orton had during this, he had a big feud with Edge in 2020 after Edge came back during COVID. And then prior to WrestleMania 33, he had a feud with Bray Wyatt, which was a good feud, and with Orton, he couldn't beat Wyatt, so he ended up teaming up with Wyatt before eventually deciding, nah, I'm done with you, I want the belt. And now, kind of the same thing he's doing with the Cody Rhodes at this moment in 26. He's like, yeah, we're gonna fight. Cody said, hey, I want the best version of Randy Orton. And Randy Orton said, okay, be careful what you wish for, before beating the ever-loving snot out of him. And Cody. It was the craziest, it was a good segment. I was Eating it up, and now I'm just eating these clothesline. Nope. Oh, the power slam. One thing I will note, but my dad and I, we say this all the time. Two of the best power slams in professional wrestling is Randy Orton and Dustin Rhodes. I'm about to eat the Hangman's DDT. I don't even know if that's what it's called. That's just what I call it because he kind of takes you over the middle rope. And I love the payback with the instant recovery because it allows me to take things off like that. But I don't like the fact is I can't remember the drag button to save my life. And I need to get him into the corner so I can do this darn move so I can finally move on to the next objective because you don't do...
And Punk and Orton going at it here. Man, both of these guys physically exhausted.
What a knockdown, drag-out affair it has been from the opening bell. Now CM Punk looking to concoct something particularly nasty here.
Randy Orton sensed something bad was coming, fighting his way out. And Punk sent into the steel. And Orton now has Punk where he wants him. Vintage Randy Orton.
And it rarely works out well for Orton's opponents from this point.
The Viper now coiled, ready to strike. Staring in the eyes of Punk, who's down and out, but I think Orton, guys, may have other ideas.
Yeah, this may well be the knockout blow. Randy Orton got that look in his eye, got venom flowing through his veins, bad intentions in mind.
Knockout blow. This may end CM Punk once and for all, Wade. Orton gonna try to end Punk's career with that patented punch, and Orton's knee gives out.
Oh, just collapsing at a critical moment, and CM Punk surviving there by the skin of his teeth.
Randy Orton's hurt. Punk now trying to figure out if he can drag himself up and somehow take advantage here. CM Punk with a golden opportunity to capitalize here at WrestleMania with a wounded Viper. Orton wanted the RKO and Punk out of the way just in time.
Punk slithering out of there. How smart of that was CM Punk. And now perhaps gets a chance to finish off the Viper.
Punk launching himself off the top. RKO by Orton. Out of nowhere to Punk. Can he capitalize?
Okay. Now that scene is done. Other matches that other things like this WrestleMania was known for was the not too great match between Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. That well, the less said about that, the better, but it exists, and if I know about it, you need to know about it. Also, on kind of like the unfortunate side of things, during the main event of the match, The Miz ended up suffering a legitimate concussion, and according to his words, he doesn't remember the match. It was basically, but that, on the topic of The Miz, is the only, time, that was the worst injury he's ever had. He's never really had any major injuries, which is a really good thing for any wrestler to have, no major injuries like that. Also on the card, you had Edge's final match until his return to WWE in 2020 during the Royal Rumble, and he basically had to retire due to his neck being an issue, which sucks for anybody. But of course, because Edge was current and had a good career, he ended up being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame that year, and then eventually got healthy enough into ring shape, which is really a good thing for him, because honestly, it was kind of one of the things you could tell there was always that something that he wanted to come back and finish the career on his terms, because like a lot of things, it's different when you tell yourself, I'm done versus when somebody tells me, versus when you are told you're done. Oh right, because if it's red, you gotta do that. Anyway, ooh, I have 3 finishers. So something cool with this is there is a super finisher in the game, but I don't really showcase a ton of them because I don't have a reason to showcase any of them. So, okay, let me kick out of this, please, please. 1. No! Oh, kicked out at 2. Barely kicked out at 2. Whew! Okay. I can get... Yes. Him... Nope. Okay. Right. Did that on purpose. If I can get him into the... Okay. Well, maybe I just play it safe and do the GTS. But, I do know some of these people have a super finisher, and I'm curious. So it doesn't have to do like a multiple GTS type thing, which is good. But I'll figure it out eventually. Alright. We beat Randy Orton, rewriting history at WrestleMania 27. Who knows what could have happened if this was the result instead. Well, we'll never know. Until then, I will catch you all in the next episode. Later.